Okay. Hi, everybody, our Afakasi trio on our
Aloha.
polypod.
Hello, hello, hello.
Hi, good to see you, Namele. Good to see you, Norman.
Thank
I
you.
was thinking I really wanted to start out by saying how much I miss you guys.
Oh,
Yeah,
same me too.
that's very
Dude,
sweet. That's
it's
very
been
sweet.
so long.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm around family, but I'm around Debbie's family right now. And
Yeah,
normally it's the other way around. She's around my family, you know.
Right.
yeah,
And so
right.
this is a little different for us. And we've got a lot of family coming down to visit us. Like this
Uh-huh.
weekend, we've got a nephew, and Debbie's brother lives here. And
Okay.
so that makes
Nice.
things, it makes things really pleasant for us
Yeah,
over
you
Well,
got
that's
a
here.
real
lot.
good for
But
both
yeah,
of you.
I miss my family. I miss the local, the attitude, the food, the whole thing.
I was going to
Yeah.
ask you that later on, but I was going to ask you, like, because you've been away from home for so long. I mean, living away from home for.
Yeah.
What do you miss, Norman? When you think about home, like, what do you miss? What is your
You know what
food
I
you
really
miss? What?
No, what I really missed is right before we left, when I was still singing in Waikiki, we were living over there by Pualei Circle. You know where that's at?
Right?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah,
that's what
I've
I
been
miss.
there.
I miss living at Pualei Circle, having Kapiolani Park as my front yard, and a surfboard that I could go right out to the in Waikiki and surf. I miss that the most.
Yeah,
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
that was
And
living
as
the
far as the
dream,
food, you
man.
know something, I wasn't really. I mean, I used to love my local food, but when things changed for me, when I started doubling for The Rock as a stunt double, my diet changed,
Yeah.
and that's what really. So I quit eating local food. I quit eating that, and I'm really kind of strict on what we eat, and we eat basic stuff. Fish. We have uh, the spaghetti once a week. We have but we have fish a couple of times a week, and then we have our steak maybe once, maybe twice a month. You know, but so I'm not missing out on anything except for the local food, and we got some local restaurants over here, but
Yeah.
that local people have started, and so every now and then I'll go out and get a bowl of something,
You know,
But as far as
I,
I don't miss that
I,
much.
I don't know if you know, remember Kiomiki Akui from KCCN? His
Yeah,
son Blake has a local food place over there in Oregon. I'll find out exactly where it is and I'll let you know. Just to go treat
yeah,
yourself maybe one time.
yeah. We got a
That'll be
place down
nice.
here where we buy like maybe three or four musu bees, and before we go to the beach, and that's our favorite thing to do is stop off, get local food, and go to the beach. It's like what was that Okazu place that was by Kaimuki High School?
Oh, Sakia's.
Yeah. We used to love to go there and get a
Yeah.
good plate and then go to the zoo and sit down in the park in the zoo and eat.
Oh,
Sakia's
nice.
is still there. It's one of
Oh,
the old places that's still around. Yeah, they made it through the COVID and everything. Still, we go to,
unbelievable that it's still running.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, doing
Yeah.
good. Because there's not too many like really good okazuyas like before. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good one. Kapahulu
Yeah.
Ave is full of places. So yeah, that's kind of the spot.
Where are you living
So
now?
I'm in Punch Bowl.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's kind of congested, but it's quiet considering
You know,
how
when Debbie
congested.
and when Debbie and I first got together and we decided to go ahead and start, being roommates, we rented Nef Mayava's place in Kapo in Makiki. He had a duplex. His wife Olga
Yeah.
was her name. Yeah, right. And she was running the place, and so we would pay her the rent. But I told her who I was, and she was just the sweetest gal. And the only reason, and who was our neighbor? Deb, who was our neighbor? Mokiali.
Oh, you're
Those are the
Oh,
extended,
kidding.
yeah,
yeah.
Moki Ali. And so we used to jam together on the porches. And, that was so special because Mo was such a special person
Nice
for Hawaii.
guy.
Yeah.
Nice guy, pure Hawaiian from Niihau,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you're not going to find guys like that anymore,
Yeah.
No, you won't.
They're
I
gone.
promise.
Yeah.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. So Nef Maya, Cherie is my age or a year. Were the girls there? Did you know the girls
No.
too? Oh, okay.
Well, I met them before.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't, I didn't hang out with them or party with them, but I met them before. But we were fairly close with Olga because she was there a lot, and she just loved us,
Polish,
because
yeah?
we took,
Polish lady.
yeah, 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 yeah. But she was a tough cookie, man.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I can't imagine how tough you'd have to be to have your husband be Nef Mayava.
Right? I'm serious. Yeah. No, he found his
Yeah,
match for sure. Oh,
yeah,
that's hilarious. And that's just exactly the kind of stories, Norman, that we're looking for, and you brought up, and I mean, when you said, you was gonna share the story, being born in a Quonset hut in Wahiawa.
yeah,
Because I forget about Wahiawa, that you guys had origins in Wahiawa before Kailua
yeah,
was, my whole life with you guys.
right.
So tell me about old Wahiawa.
Well, I don't remember it that much. I was only 3 years old when we moved.
Okay.
But from what I was told, my mom, she had a real difficult time giving birth to me. As a matter of fact, she was uh, in there for 36 hours in labor.
Oh my
Wow.
God.
Yeah,
So
her
was
heart
I though,
stopped.
actually.
Her
Yeah.
her her heart stopped
Yeah.
for
Wow.
like 3 minutes, and they were able to bring her back, and then they finally did a cesarean. And I can't imagine at that time in a Quonset hut,
I was gonna say in a
trying,
Quonset, was that like a
yeah,
delivery
trying,
place? The Quonset
yeah.
hut?
Well, it was the hospital. It was the only hospital that we had at the
Okay.
time.
Wow.
You know, yeah. And so, but all of us were born there. All of us were born at the
Okay, so
Quonset
what
hut.
year was
And
that? So I'm 59. What year was that?
I was 54.
Okay.
1954 for me, and Gary was 1950, and then Tony was 44, and Sis
Wow.
was 43, I think.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's about right.
That
Yeah.
sounds right, because mom, I know she's fine. Okay. Yeah, that sounds right.
But I think,
That's from
and then
mom's age.
my dad had gotten out of the military. He's been out for a little while at that time, but he was working at Pearl Harbor, and he was
Right.
doing really well. And so at that time is when they started opening up Kailua, the new developments. Who was that? Del Webb or some? I believe it was.
Yes, Del
Uh,
Webb.
yeah, it was, huh?
Mhm.
And so he started Keolo Hills, and so we were the first group of people buying the houses over there. And back then, when we moved, I think it was in 1959 or 1950, somewhere around there, 59, 58,
Before
something like
statehood?
that. Pardon me?
Was that before statehood or still territory?
Yeah, before statehood. Before
Okay.
statehood. And so when we moved there, my dad bought the house for $15,000. Can you imagine?
Wow.
Yeah, I
In
can.
Yeah.
Kailua, $15,000.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's just amazing because you actually have to inherit a house in Kailua. You
Yeah.
know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? You
Yeah.
cannot
On
just go in
anywhere on the
Kailua and
island,
buy.
Norm. Anywhere on
Yeah,
the island.
yeah, that's true. Anywhere. That's the sad thing. That's why so many locals are leaving.
Well, that's
Yeah.
why I share with visitors, like, when they look at homes up Wailaiki or wherever, anywhere on the island. And I said, the only local people there are the ones that inherited it. Like you said, it's
Yeah,
generational. Because
yeah.
a fireman can't even afford $1 million house over
No,
here,
no. Who's going to afford the down payment unless my dad had saved it and given it to me, and wheeled and dealed and all of that other stuff? It's not that's out of the out of the realm of reality for a lot of people. You know,
You know,
but
my
the thing
son
is,
mentioned,
what I was
go
gonna
ahead.
say, the sad thing though about the people leaving the islands is that when they get to where they're at, it's a disillusion. It's not what they think. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? I mean,
yeah.
it's probably fun in the beginning, but you go through those 118 degree weather, you know, a couple of
Yeah, we're
times,
really
and
spoiled here. We're really spoiled
yeah,
here.
yeah, yeah.
I was gonna say,
Uh,
my son had mentioned, just going back to the homes a little bit, my son mentioned, you know, because he was talking about the fire department, and he goes, Mom, but all my firefighter friends live with their firefighter parents. Because they can't,
yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
so yeah,
Well,
that's
what
the
else are you gonna do?
reality,
I mean, what else is he gonna do? I mean,
right?
if you want to stay, that's a great life to have because that second job is where you're gonna make your money. Maybe
That's
not as
what,
a
right?
Right.
fireman, but that second job on those days off, that's where you're gonna make some headway in your in your thing. One of the sad things is our educational system on what it did for us is that it didn't teach us to be entrepreneurs. Your father was Vicky, your father was a very special guy to know, to know what he knew. I mean, to actually be able to start a airlines, a national airlines. I can't imagine the red tape and all the paperwork that had to be done back then
Before
because it's
internet,
not.
before the
Yeah, no
internet.
more internet. There was no there. So it was a piles and piles and piles of paperwork, you know.
Yeah,
And then Uncle John having that stutter, I mean, people weren't they weren't kind to people like that back in those days, especially when he was growing up. They were
oh yeah.
mean to him,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
I can just imagine because I know people that are mean to regular fucking people, you know.
You
you
know,
know, and let alone somebody who's got issues. One of my
and
best friends from that I went to school with in Arizona, his father uh, was a local guy in a town called Safford, Arizona. And at the age of 8 years old, they were playing cowboys and Indians, and they tied him up to a stake and lit it on fire. And they couldn't put the stake out. They couldn't put the fire out, and they burned his legs off.
oh my
I mean, they burned his
God.
legs so bad that they had to amputate. And so my friend's dad, back in the late 40s and 50s, he was he invented a skateboard and used that as his wheels, and he just pushed himself with his hands. And he became a real big upper half. His chest is nice and big, and so when I got to meet him, he had no legs, and you would never know it because of the way he just talked to you. He would sit behind a table where you couldn't see his legs, and he was just the most amazing man. And what he told me that he went through back in those days was just horrendous, and how cruel
Yeah,
people
yeah,
can be. You
Yeah.
know,
right.
Mm-hmm.
You
yeah.
know, only because
And
this had actually come up very recently, and we're cousins. You know, I look at this as like we're cousins talking here. Okay, so I'm going to share that like I would with you anyway, but and I can't even tell you guys how I know this. You know how Dad got to stuttering. Well, going back to those days, right? You know, Dad was born in 1930. Namele and I had spoken about this in a railroad town. Well, Dad was the youngest of 5 kids. Well, his oldest sibling was severely mentally handicapped. And Grandma Pira, did you ever meet Grandma Pira? She lived with
no,
us for off and on for a long time. She was lovely. But Grandma Pira was advised frequently to institutionalize her oldest son. She couldn't do it. So as a result, he terrorized the house. And my dad, being the youngest, like as a toddler, being terrorized, that's how he developed the stutter. You know,
no.
he had eventually passed away, but like it just goes to the tough choices that people had to make in those days. You know, my grandma
Yeah,
always had a sadness about it. She was so she was like a real pioneer woman, as Namele and I had spoken of, but she just always had this, underlying sadness from that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's how dad got the stutter all his life. But
Yeah.
my dad, it was never like, it
No, no.
restricted him in any
Yeah.
way.
Oh, no way. It was amazing on what he accomplished, And yeah, I was so proud of him. I really was. I was proud of Uncle John. I just loved that man. Uh and he was just so very smart and calm. I mean, sometimes we come to your house and it's loaded, choking with Samoans. I mean, this place
I
is
told him that we used to
choking,
have cricket
and
games in front of the house.
they're all stained. They're
Yeah,
all stained, and he's
yeah.
the only white guy there. Only white guy there. And then my dad would come by, you could see
Yeah.
the relief in his face. Oh, one of my people. That
So
was
true.
fun. Yeah.
Hey, but I remember my dad, scrawny, howly, redhead, freckles, arm wrestling with you guys and, pretty much
Oh
holding
yeah.
his own, okay?
Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. He was good joining in like that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect the vice president of uh, senior vice president of Hawaiian Air to be doing this
Yeah.
kind of stuff with us local kids. I mean,
Yeah.
as his nephews. It's just amazing. It's amazing that we would even challenge him to something like that. I don't know what the
Right.
hell's going on with our heads. What were we
Yeah.
thinking to do that? Speaking of stuttering, I was fortunate enough to make my living as a stuntman in Hollywood.
Yes.
That's and it wasn't by design. I had no idea I was going to be a stuntman in Hollywood. It's because I sang at Nick's Fish Market in Waikiki that Tom Selleck used to come down all the time.
Right.
And we became friends, and we played softball against Magnum PI's crew.
Yeah.
And I did real well against them,
Yeah.
and
Shocking.
so their coordinator asked me, "Hey, would you be interested in doing stunts?" So I said, "Yeah." So I did a couple of stunts for them, but the next thing you know, I started getting insurance. And that blew me away because I had only done a few shows. And next thing you know, I'm
Uh-huh.
getting insurance from Magnum PI, health insurance. And as an entertainer, you know, uh,
I know.
you don't get that from your negotiations with the club. They're not going to give you insurance, and there's no
Benefits.
way
Yeah.
Right.
I cannot buy that with. I was fortunate enough to. I was smart enough to negotiate that with Nick's Fish Market. They did do that with me uh, because I was
Well, they loved
conscious of
you.
that.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I was conscious of that. But when I found out that the stunt worker had also paid that, and then there was a union, and
The
then there
union.
was retirements, and then there's all these other things, and then next thing you know, I started getting residual checks from these shows I was doing, and it was just like amazing. So that's what I decided at the age of 35 to go full on 35, which is in the stunt world, that's
Right.
old. That's old.
No.
You start off in the stunt world at 17, 16, your
Yeah.
your father's in it, so you start at 10, I mean,
Yeah.
so all the it's yeah, that's like Tanawai. That's how Tanawai got in. I helped him get in. I mean, he
Right.
was already in. He had done a show before, but he wasn't a working stuntman. And when the Rock thing came up, I was 20 years older than the Rock. I knew I wasn't going to last as his stunt double very long. I didn't want to. I mean, because
Yeah.
it's a brutal life. You have to have the attitude of a guy his own age, which is Tanawai, you know.
Right.
Yeah.
And Tanawai looked just like him, They do.
Yeah.
They look so much alike. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But
That
that's
really
how I
worked
got
out
into
for them.
yeah, that's how we got into that the stunt work. But otherwise, how do you choose a career in Hawaii if you're just a local boy? You know, our choices was going to Pearl Harbor and working there.
Yep. Yep.
Or
That's what my dad
hospitality
did.
for kids.
Yeah, yeah, but that's because our school systems never taught us. I mean, when Debbie got her business degree, she didn't learn how to be the business owner. She learned how to be the business secretary. You know what I'm
Right,
saying? They taught her
right.
how to keep the records. They didn't teach her how to go out and get that job, how to close that deal. You know what I'm saying? They just taught her how to type and to make sure that, and that's what business was back then.
Yeah,
They didn't
true.
teach you how to, yeah, you had to learn that from somewhere else.
Right.
And,
Yeah,
and
absolutely. Well, remember, I went to an all-girls school, and in those
yeah,
days, yeah, that is what they taught us, how to type and
yeah,
and
yeah.
uh,
How to be
how to
how to
get
be a
coffee.
worker, how to
Yeah,
be a worker, not how to be the owner. you
right,
know,
right.
Right.
No, that's
and
exactly
that's
true.
what's got to change because a lot of the stuff is just is crazy, and
It
we'd be
has
so
changed. It
yeah.
has
It
changed.
has.
Yes, it has. A lot of let's say liberal arts majors now, I say English, they have that, but then they also have an entrepreneurial aspect to the job.
Yeah.
And you wonder,
Well,
how does English tie in with that? But it's interesting because instead of just thinking of it as being a teacher in English or basically that, it's like, well, you could be since you're so good at English, maybe you could start writing a podcast. Maybe you could start writing a book.
yeah, yeah.
Maybe you could start writing scripts. And so the
All
next
right.
thing you know is now you're thinking like a business owner or having
All
your
right.
own business. And that's what's happening now.
Yeah.
Good thing.
Yeah.
I
That
think
is.
I think you're right, Namele, but I think it's not as pervasive as it could be,
Right.
So, but yeah, and
Well,
I
we're
think
just
it's way
learning. That's why
overdue.
it's just now starting. It's just now
Yeah,
starting. It hasn't been
Yeah.
on the books for very long.
Yeah, no, it's
But
just
there
starting.
are
You're
people
absolutely right.
like that guy, rich man, poor man. That guy
yeah,
from Hawaii.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, that guy used to come down to my show all the time. I mean, every week I would see him.
Who's this, the
Yeah.
author?
Yeah,
Oh,
Kurosaki?
did
yeah.
not know that. Oh,
Oh
man.
yeah. Oh
Oh,
yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
he's a local boy. And but I mean, he did it all on his own. He was smart enough, to kind of figure it out. And Del Webb was a part of his learning experience. He was a
Yeah,
neighbor to them.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Okay.
But,
that
I want
helped
to
him
ask
out
you,
a lot.
Norman, how did you get into singing? Like, how did you get, because not easy, not everybody can go up on the stage and feel as comfortable as you, like you were
Well,
such a
yeah, that
natural.
happened because my, brother Tony, my brother was he was trying to entertain. I had gone to college at Arizona, and in 1976 I came back home, and in 1976 January 1st, Tony and I sang in the choir in high school, and me and Tony always sang
The
together.
Madrigals.
Yeah, yeah, and me and Tony always sang together. Harmonizing and stuff. And so in January 1st, 1976, Tony he'd been singing at the Cox Roost, but he
Yeah.
also got the gig in the afternoon at the Garden Bar at the Hilton Hawaiian Village.
Oh,
And
okay.
so
Nice. Nice.
Tony's voice was starting to weaken. So he asked me if I would like to get into to sing. And I had just turned 20. And I said, yeah, okay. And so I went up there and I was a cocky little guy. And I took over the afternoon gig at the Hilton Hawaiian Village.
Because
And
if
I
only
broke
you
all
had
the,
a personality.
yeah, at 21, man, it's unbelievable. I mean, I look back and I say, man, why didn't I have a good manager? But anyway,
Yeah.
I had broken all the records of the Garden Bar. I was I was making because back then what they used to do is that they would pay you a guaranteed amount, and then if you did well, they pay a percentage. Well, I broke that
Oh,
percentage every week. And so back then, 1976, I was making myself take home 3,000 a week.
Yes. Are you
holy
kidding me?
cow.
3,000 a week back in 1976, and I'm only 20 years old, you
Oh, wow.
know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know what I was doing with that money, but I had some nice clothes, and at that particular time, I had been going with a girl for a long time, but we were separating, and I met Debbie, and she was getting ready to leave for back to Oklahoma after being in Hawaii for the summer. And her girlfriend and them had their tickets ready to go, and I met her a week before she left. and I
Uh-huh.
asked her to stay, and I would pay her rent if she would stay. So I paid her rent for a couple months, and then I finally broke up with the other girl, and then we moved to Olga's house.
Oh, was that right into, oh my
Yeah, yeah,
God.
right into it. Yeah,
I know who the
yeah,
old girlfriend is, right? I know who that is.
yeah,
That's your
yeah.
high school
Marla,
girl. Yeah,
you
yeah,
remember?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Nice girl too.
yeah.
Yeah.
She's a very sweet girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's on Maui, and her family are doing really well.
Oh, good.
I don't communicate with her directly, but my best friend Brian Brahanti, he's still, he
Oh, the
still
Brillantes,
sees
yeah.
them. Him and his wife
Okay.
still see them a lot.
Kailua family,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, but you know what's
Oh,
surprising is how Al Harrington got in the entertainment.
tell us that story.
Well, he never was really a
Singer.
singer. You know what I'm saying? He was an unbelievable spokesperson. This guy could
Yes.
talk, you know. He could talk. I mean, he was so smooth, and he was captivating, and
Yes.
yeah. And so when he was doing when he got that job as Hawaii 5-0, he took advantage of that, and he put something together, and he worked hard at it. I mean, because he had to convince these tour operators to for his
Right.
show, although he's not doesn't have a reputation to be a singer or an entertainer. How are you going to put a show together? I mean, that's not easy. Putting a show
Right.
together, you got jokes, you got all these different things that have to fit in perfectly to make a show successful. And well, luckily for him, nobody was looking for anybody with that perfect. You remember Rod Young? He had that beautiful voice.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. Looking for a Rod Young voice. They were looking for somebody that could communicate and
Yeah.
communicate with the crowds that were coming to Hawaii in a way that would represent so well. And him having that natural, what was it? He even had his master's in Hawaiian history, American history. You
History,
know,
yeah.
yeah. So anywhere anybody was from, he could tell them, about their state, whatever state, Montana to Nebraska to, Wyoming. It didn't matter where it was. He knew something, very important about that state, and
Well,
he
he
was
went to
just always so
Stanford, remember? Like he's
Yeah,
from Punahou to
yeah,
Stanford.
yeah, he sure
yeah,
did.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
He was
That's
teaching
amazing. I
history
mean,
at Punahou.
yeah,
Mhm.
we have such a diverse group of family members. But what's interesting is how many of us stayed in the entertainment because we're all entertainers.
Yeah.
Well,
And
see, and that's the one thing I wanted to talk about in this episode was the history of this family and entertainment, going all the way from Samoa before we ever left that, with the old man Simasina's voice being so beautiful that the Mormon Church used it as a proselyting tool.
Yeah.
And then you've got the family
no
coming to
kidding.
Samoa and then going to Hawaii and being the base for the hukilau, and then eventually evolving into the cultural center. And then, of course, then Norm, you, and then there's Al. But even before you guys, there was your Uncle
Oh
Vilai.
no, absolutely. How about
Yeah,
yeah.
Uncle Vilai. I mean, Uncle
He is.
Vilai was so famous during World War II, post World War
Oh
II,
yeah. He
because
was
he was
huge.
this wrestler
Yeah.
showman, and he was out there, and I mean, he was
Did you
bigger
hear?
than the
Did you
Rock times
hear?
10.
Did you hear how he got his reputation in Hawaii?
What? No.
Very, very interesting. Him and these guys are all from the boonies, and
Oh
they're
yeah,
coming to America for the very first time, and
right.
they don't really know about America. They don't know
Mhm.
the customs or what's cool or what's not, and so they're watching TV. And while they're watching TV, we got James Cagney, we got a lot of these gangsters on TV that are doing this sort of thing. And so one day it was Uncle Vilai and somebody else was walking down in Hotel Street, and they saw a pimp slapping a girl. So Uncle Vilai went over there and slapped the fuck out of this guy. Excuse my language. Slapped the hell out of this guy and stopped him from doing bad things to this lady. Well, a week or two later, he came back to town and he couldn't buy anything. Everybody
Yeah.
was buying him. He's the
Your
guy
money
that
is
can
not
get
good here. Yeah.
my money. Yeah, your money is not good
Yeah.
here. And he was so good. He wouldn't take advantage of that. I mean, he's not a
Right.
drinker. He's not any of the things
Right.
that. So the people loved him because of that. Because
Yeah.
he could have been. He could have been a Nappy Palava. He could have been any of these guys. You know.
Yeah. But see,
He
that's the
could have,
work
but he
ethic.
didn't.
That's the work ethic of the family.
Yeah.
Is that you don't take
Yeah.
advantage. You can work. In fact, you should be working. You shouldn't just be
Yeah.
sitting back on your laurels. And the whole
Right.
family was like that. Yeah. Good for him.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, I'm going
Absolutely.
to interject something here, and I've shared this with Namele. Our mutual, Branscom's mom's brother, Uncle Sonny, his wife, Auntie Mary, is from Papakolea. And so when I was hanging around with them when I was first in LA, and Auntie Mary said, oh, Uncle Vilay used to come up Papakolea and put him away, you know. He used to pound some
Did
things
he?
with the boys, you know. And I was like,
Uh,
oh, I'm so glad he's got that other side.
yeah, boy, he's
Because
got some place to relieve himself.
yes,
Where he
yes.
can, yeah, absolutely, man. I can't
So
imagine
secrets out. Yeah.
how tough that was. I know. Just us growing up, there weren't any Samoans around. Nobody knew what a Samoan was. You
Yeah.
know, they all do now. They all do
Yeah.
now, but they didn't back then. You
Yeah.
know,
You
Yeah.
know, Norman,
Yeah.
you mentioned that before. You're so right. Like I remember growing up and just, you know, it just rolled off your
we were
tongue,
the
you know, that,
Samoans. We were them.
yeah.
We were
So
them. And
You know, you guys
what
want.
was real bad is that the locals, the Hawaiians, didn't like us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right.
They didn't respect us. They didn't respect us. They do now. They do now because they realize that we are all connected. And you got the Hawaiians. You guys got our DNA. Let's get that straight.
True.
True.
Yeah.
Really true.
I always tell people Samoans are the only ones, unless somebody can correct me, where our myths describe us as coming directly from the sun.
Right.
We
Right.
didn't come from another island. We didn't,
Right.
you know, migrate. No,
Right.
we came straight from Samoa. You know, we came
Yeah.
straight from the sun.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there,
That's
I'm
how
a Sam.
Samoans feel about it. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, and Festpac is here, Norman. I don't know if you heard that. I
Yeah,
shared
yeah.
it
That's
with
what
some.
I've been seeing that on Facebook. And is that in Hawaii?
Yeah, it's at the Laitulis just called me this morning, so I'm running over there, Miley and Tui. So I'm running over there after we're POW, and it is just amazing.
No, it looks phenomenal. It looks
Yeah.
phenomenal. I am so jealous. I am
Oh,
so jealous. Did you know? Did you know this was coming for a long time? Because
I just got heard about it because Miley and Tui lives in American Samoa now, and Tui
Right.
left, not Freddie's, but they are like ambassadors for the Samoa Tourism Office, so they
Right.
have things. So I knew about it some weeks before, but there wasn't like widespread, you know, and
Yeah.
25
Yeah.
nations, and the boats came
Yeah.
in, the Va'a came in at Kualoa. I mean, it was,
How
but
did
there
you
was
guys
no
do
like,
this without the internet? How did you do this without the internet? I didn't see one thing about this, man.
go on YouTube. It
Unbelievable.
is amazing. And
Yeah, I have
Nainoa,
been. That's right. Yeah.
oh, it
Yeah.
was like total, like you were back in time when the canoes was coming in with, and all the different languages, but similar. I mean, it
Right.
was, it's crazy.
Well, that's the thing about I told you guys before about how my mom would be able to talk to our good
Yes.
Hawaiian friend in that language. There's that traveling language where everybody understood each other, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I remember
Right.
in one of the books that I read about Captain Cook, he had a
Interpreter.
scout, interpreter with him, and they went
Mhm.
to New Zealand, and when they got there, the chief and them knew each other, and the interpreter, you know, and which is amazing, and because all you have to do is bring up your family line, and everybody's connected to the beginning, you know.
Right.
That's right.
Exactly. Exactly. So
To
anyway,
this day, yeah.
yeah, exactly. You know, I was just going to say, we're getting back to the whole entertainment thing. So then that's how Uncle Eli got his start. I never heard that story. And my father was so close to him like a brother, but you know, I'm a baby. So none of that
Yeah.
ever
Yeah, yeah.
reached me. None of that
Yeah,
information
yeah.
ever reached me.
Yeah,
But it's just amazing to see that that was his start. And, you know, that's why I kind of feel kind of bummed out when I hear Dwayne Johnson talking about his grandfather. And I'm thinking, Uncle Eli first, you know,
yeah.
because it was
Well,
really Uncle Eli first.
Uncle Eli and Al Lolotai.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's right.
right.
Al was football, and Uncle was wrestling.
Wrestling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they
But
all
those
knew
were
each
the two
other
big
and were so
names.
close.
Those were the two big names back then. Yeah,
Yeah.
Al
Right.
Lolotai and Uncle Eli.
Well, you know, to tell you the truth, Norm, Al was supposed to be my dad's best man, and he was with the Redskins at the time. And
Oh,
so,
really?
weather conditions being what they were, he couldn't get back home in time. So, you know who ended up being Dad's best man? Try
Who?
Uncle Arona.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So in the
Ah.
wedding pictures, you see Uncle Arona being Dad's best
The
man.
little guy. The little guy.
Little, well, okay, yeah, I guess.
Uncle
I mean,
Arona
I
Speaking of
compared
guess
to Uncle
entertaining,
Eli.
an
Compared to Uncle
entertainer
Eli, Uncle
too.
Tine.
True. Oh.
Yeah. Uncle Eli, Uncle Arona was more human. You know, he's human
Yeah,
size.
true, absolutely
The other
true.
men. But
Yeah,
what was amazing about the Uncle Eli and Uncle Tine and Arona and everybody, they were in such good shape. You know
Oh,
what I
yeah.
mean? I mean,
they
they were
all
cut up.
were.
You look at Uncle Arona's body, it's all sliced up.
Yeah.
It's not
Yeah.
just, you know, and it's all natural.
Yeah. Well, same with
You
Uncle
know?
Eli. He didn't go lift
Yeah.
heavy weights and all this mess. He didn't have time for that. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, they're
He didn't
amazing.
know. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
always
right. He didn't
remember
know.
my mom telling me, you know, because mom didn't meet Uncle Arona until she was an adult. She went to LA because she, you know, young. And so she said from that moment on, every moment with him was like she goes, that man never slept. You know, he'll go out and he's entertaining in LA, right? And then he's making his hats all day long. And then he goes and drives the trolley. Like she goes, no, I'm serious. That man never slept.
Yeah.
You
Well, you
know?
talk. I'll tell you something. That really says something about our kapunas and our old.
Yes.
Is that they were workers.
Real
Yeah.
They were
workers.
workers. They were workers.
Yeah.
All of them wanted to work. All of them wanted that responsibility.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
give me two jobs. Give me two jobs.
Right,
know?
Oh,
exactly.
I know. Yeah,
And-
but also like, what? It pays 8 cents? I'm your man. You know?
Yeah,
I'm your man. Yeah.
exactly. My dad got $4 for picking pineapples the first time when he was 12. And he went back home and he told his mom, I am going to be rich. You know, for the whole
Oh,
$4, you know, I'm going to be rich.
You know, and when your dad was picking pineapple, they didn't have the
Oh, yeah.
gloves and the things,
Right,
you know, so
right.
all
Yeah,
that
no
acid
safety.
was just,
No safety.
Yeah.
Yeah.
man, that was tough times, boy.
Can
You
you
know?
imagine? Oh man.
Yeah.
Hey, listen, I
Eh,
want you to tell that story about Don Ho asking about Uncle Eli.
Well, yeah, you know, this is an interesting story about Don Home. You know, my mom,
Normie,
was
the camera's off. There you go.
I'm sorry. My mom was very good friends with a lot of people because of the legislature. But Don Ho was one of her friends, and they were at a party one time, and my mom was taking diet pills at that time, and the diet pills that they were giving mom from Kaiser was Black Beauties.
Whoa.
I know where you're going. Yeah.
Yeah. And so mom got, they were at this function up at the Ilikai. And next thing you know, my mom is on the balcony and she's teetering, you know, and it's like, so Don Ho sees this and he goes and grabs her and brings her in and then, you know, waits until she's okay and everything and got her to where, you know, my dad was able to take her home. But anyway, so when I told when I got older, I grew up with Don Ho's kids. So one day I told him who my mom was, and he says, "Oh yeah, you've Elias, you've Elias nephew." I said, "Yeah." He says, "That's a great man. That's a great man." And he's the one that told me the story about Uncle Vilai down in Hotel Street. It was Don Ho.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, yeah.
Whoa.
That's
It
awesome.
wasn't mom.
Oh,
It wasn't mom. It was Don Ho.
wow.
The boys talking. You know,
Yeah, yeah,
right,
true.
right,
Oh, I
right,
love that
right.
story. You got more?
Yeah. Well, no, but I will say this. What's really interesting. We touched on this a little bit, but when we used to go see Grandpa and Simoy,
Yeah,
in Kahuku or Laie. I mean, when we get there, there's no furniture. There's nothing, you
yeah,
know? I mean, everybody's on the floor.
yeah,
Everybody's on the mats, you
yeah,
know? I mean,
yeah,
that's where everything was done. All the food was shared there. I
yeah,
mean, yeah, it was like stepping back in time,
yeah,
when
yeah,
you went to any of the functions for Grandpa, you
yeah.
know?
Yeah.
Well, he
You
lived up here. He lived up here just down the street from mom and dad's. In fact,
know,
when Paia was in high school or wanted to go to a certain high school in Torrance, it was Uncle Tine that went to dad and said, "Hey, Sa, can I use your address so Paia can go to North High School?" And of course, dad, oh, of course, uncle. So she used to go to school and then from there come to our house and wait for them to pick her up. So they lived just down the way from us. So I used to go over there too, because sometimes uncle couldn't get there, no big deal. So when mom and dad got home, one of them would take her back and I'd be in the car with them. And so we would go inside the house. And you're right, Norm. That's exactly what the house was like. It was just real bare, but no big deal because everybody else's was too. And we were
Yeah, I was
all
gonna
there on
yeah,
the
say,
floor.
yeah, Auntie Tassie's house was
yeah,
like that. I mean, yeah, they were all like
yeah,
that.
Yeah.
yeah.
And Auntie
All
Pablo,
everybody
remember the
over there.
back room?
Oh
Yeah, the
yeah, oh
same
yeah,
thing.
yeah.
Yeah. I love
Yeah, that
that.
was, yeah, that
But
was,
you
there
know,
was
I wanted
something
to,
so
so
special about that.
I'm much younger than you two.
That's true,
And
you are. That's true,
I'm
you
gonna
are.
milk that every chance I get, okay? So, but I really feel like, we kind of touched on this the first time, Nora, like the end of an era group. Like I really feel like my age is the end of the era, like of having a front row seat to all of these things
Yeah,
that we're talking about. I remember, like whenever Uncle Tine would come in, he always wanted to have Chinese food on Hotel Street with his sisters.
right,
And so there was one time after we ate, and I'm walking down Hotel Street with Uncle Tine, and I must have been, maybe 11, 12, not small, small, right?
right,
And I'm not kidding you. For me, Hotel Street was the street you drove down after doing Waikiki on your way home, right?
right,
So I never really walked Hotel Street.
right,
And I'm walking with Uncle Tine, and who's a doorway.
right.
And
Yeah.
there wasn't a person on Hotel Street that didn't say, "Oh, hi, Tine. Oh, Tine, how you doing? Tine, how you doing? Do you need every single person down the whole street,
Right.
Yeah.
So he was a frequent visitor for sure.
Well,
They
you know what? I
definitely
mean, you can imagine. I mean, there weren't many, especially local looking people that
yeah,
were
Right.
as fit as these men. These men were special men. They came to town and they were like, whoa, who are these guys? They don't speak English, they don't
right.
do anything, Next thing you know, they're dressing like the guys on Cagney and
Oh
watching
yeah,
these guys on, yeah.
Yeah.
See, that's how you're supposed to be in America, and that, a lot of the Samoan, underbelly, underworld was created because of that.
I
Because
agree.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
yeah,
Yep. I have a couple
Well,
of
it was just
cousins.
easy. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
easy.
It
It
was.
was on TV. That's how Americans are supposed to be doing it. And
Yeah.
they noticed that if they do this right, nobody charges them money. They can get money from the bartenders. I mean, you remember what's his name, Baby? Uh,
oh, baby,
yeah, you remember Baby from
baby and board.
Waikiki? Yeah,
Yeah.
Baby, he was that local guy that was always a thug, and he would go to like certain bars and stop off at the doorman and collect his $20. You
Yeah.
know, that's how he made
Wow.
his living. You know, collecting that kind of stuff. And baby was always sweet to me, but
Yeah.
all the underworld, Tommy Fanene, everybody was unbelievably sweet with me because they knew uh I was
Teenage.
related to the family.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. I mean, even my generation, a little bit less than me, because Wendell and Lee and all those guys, they had a
Yeah.
reputation down there too. So you go down there, and every place, especially Glades, we go in. Hi, Wendell. Hi,
Yeah.
Lee. Because we would
Hotel
go down
Yeah.
there and
Street.
bust. Like Lee would say, hey, we go over there and bust them all up. So like, I mean, so they would walk down the street, and you're absolutely right. So I'm walking in front of Wendell. And I don't hear it. He hears it because he knows what Hotel Street's like. He grabs me by the back and just picks me up like this. And this person comes flying out the door. It puts me down. It's like, oh, dude. I mean, these guys have their ear to the ground when they're down in the
Yeah.
hotel. So
But I
Hotel
tell you,
Street.
that's
So
when Hotel Street was good fun to go walk and drive down, even during the day, but at night it was something
oh,
else,
dude,
man. I
yeah.
remember getting our driver's license and doing it for the first time,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
15 years
Well,
old. I
the
don't know if
truth
you
is,
remember, in
no.
Hawaii back in the days, you could get your permit at 14, 9 months. 14 years old, 9 months, you can get your permit. And once you turn 15, you didn't need your parents' permission to get your license. So
Yeah.
as soon as I turned 15, I went in and got my license. And about 2 months later, my dad says, when are you going to go in and get your license? I said, oh, I already have mine. That's I mean, that's amazing that's
Oh, those
amazing
good
that
old territory
I mean,
days. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
yeah,
No, it's
yeah,
true.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
that was still my
I'm
I
gonna.
mean,
mentality. That was
because
my
now to get
mentality
your
when I took
license now it takes you, yeah, just to
what?
go through the DMV takes you a day and a
Oh,
half. You know?
Oh, that's
I don't even want to
crazy.
talk about Hawaii stuff now, but I want to bring up something, and Norman, I want to know if this ever caught your ear, and Namele, since you guys
Yeah.
are so much older. And you know,
I'm proud.
I'll reveal my source after I share it with you, but based on what you were saying, kind of reminded me of this, that like organized crime, beyond Hawaii's shores, actually took a real interest in recruiting Samoan Mormon men or boys. They were loyal. They were stronger than anybody
Honest.
on the planet. I mean, I even heard, this is what I heard, that even the 357 was invented to take out Uncle Tine. I mean, he really got around, yeah, continents
Yeah.
wise. Like he was
Yeah.
really sent.
Oh, yeah.
Has
Well,
that ever reached you guys'
Merchant Marine.
ears?
Huh?
Like, yeah, well,
The thing about him is that he had such a reputation. I mean, and by no means good. It was just like there was
yeah,
so the only
yeah,
thing good about Tine was that he loved his family. He
Yeah, he
loved
did.
his family. He
I
was
did.
so freaking loyal. I mean, you come to him and tell
You
him,
know,
hey, this guy hassled me, and the next thing you know is the guy's close to being dead. And
Yeah, I
so,
would never
and
do
so,
that.
did did you
so
know,
the one
you
thing about
remember,
him that was so lovely was that he was that guy. His family was in the center of his heart, but man, he was dark. I mean, he was
Yeah.
dark. I don't even. You guys go ahead and share what you know, but I just have to tell you is
I
that
was
man.
gonna say that, you know, Grandpa raised a lot of these guys, like Elema Leota was raised over there,
Mhm.
Tommy
Yeah.
Fanini. And so one time when I was driving Robert De Niro on a movie called The Fan,
Oh, we're
and
gonna
we were
circle back
watching.
about De Niro.
Oh yeah.
Okay,
No, we're definitely
I
going
really
back for
want
a
to
lot
talk
of things.
about that.
Yeah, we're gonna. Yeah. Go
Uh,
ahead. Go ahead. So
okay.
continue with your
Anyway,
story.
so we're Bob and I are. This is like our third movie, so we're pretty close friends. And one day, as we're coming into the thing, I see a lot of action going on by where the tents are that have our tables for eating and stuff. And so as I go into that place, it's all turned upside down. And from what I understood, this big Samoan guy came in there and is just like threatening the people why they didn't hire them, that that we Teamsters are taking his jobs and that he
Oh.
wants it. And says, where's De Niro at? Where's De Niro? So anyway, so I don't know any of this stuff. And then this guy starts walking down towards me, and I'm in front of Robert De Niro's trailer. And this guy comes walking in, and I get out of the car, and he starts talking his stuff. And this is a big guy, so I just take off my jacket, and this guy don't know me. I'm gonna clock him, and but somebody else he was with was stopping him, and and all I was doing was saying, "You don't need to stop him." That's all I was saying, and the security finally came by, and who was doing security for us at that time for the movie business were the Hells Angels. And
No,
none of
No,
them were
it's
helping
true.
with
It's true. It's
that
true.
Samoan guy. So yeah, so none of them were helping. So the next day, they bring this older Samoan guy and this young tough. You could tell this guy is the serious bone cracker.
the muscle.
Yes. Yeah, they say, "Hey, we're looking for Norman Compton." I said, "You found him." They said something else. I said, "You know who you remind me of?" I said, they said, "Who?" I said, "You remind me of my uncle, Tommy Fanini." And they said, "That's your nephew. I mean, that's your uncle." I said, "Yeah." He says, "Okay, we came here to apologize for our guy." And that's what they started doing right away. They started
Yeah.
apologizing to me.
Mhm.
And the next day, the tough Samoan came down and was apologizing and saying if I ever needed their help again,
Yeah.
So there was a lot of
That's
respect
usually
in
how
that.
we meet
I
people.
know Uncle Tine. Yeah,
And
the
become really
Purple
good
Gang
friends.
and all of these.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
As soon as
Purple
they learn
Gang
that
with
genealogy connection, like, oh, I
yeah,
am Uncle Tine's nephew, blah, blah, this is that. Oh, yeah. Then
yeah,
boom, that's it. Yeah. Happy days.
Oh, but one of my
yeah.
favorite stories was, nothing like yours, but when I was working over at the Capitol, in those days, there's a lot of drinking, and you're there 24 hours a day, right? So you do a lot of drinking down in Sergeant at Arms, and I used to hang around all the old lobbyists, and the lobbyist for Kamehameha School's Bishop Estate, like, just was my bud. He's older than me, but was my buddy. So he goes, what? I go meet some friends at this bar, this dive that I hang out at. Come with me. So I went, and all gangsters sitting at the table, right? All these old gangsters sitting over there at the table. And they asked me what, my Samoan last name. I said Sua. And they go, "How are you related to Leroy Sua?" And I said, "Oh, that's my mom's cousin. It's my mom's first cousin." Just like that, And then right down the line, they asking me questions. They grilling me. They testing me.
Right.
All right.
What's his wife's name? Loretta. What's his kid's name? Yolanda, Yolene, Jared, And then I just passed all the tests, and my money was not good that night after,
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I was a little bit like, I wasn't scared at the moment, but I thought about it the next day, and I was like, what the hell? Who is my family? Like, who does?
No. Let me ask you something. I need to know. So what was Leroy? Because I never really knew. I knew of Leroy. I saw tons of pictures because Dad and them, they'll put on that wedding for him. What I mean is, why was he so respected? What was up?
Well, he was
I never heard gangster stories about Uncle Leroy, but I know he had friends,
Well, Uncle Leroy wrestled too.
Okay.
Oh, really?
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Did
Yeah,
not.
he was a tough man.
I know he was a tough guy.
All it takes, I tell you, I would sit sometimes with Ilema Leota and these guys, and it was uncomfortable, because nobody would come to us. Nobody comes to us and talk story, Hard to be funny. Hard to be funny with just those guys,
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. They're not really jokesters. They don't really like to hear jokes and shit.
Yeah.
At least Ilema
Different
Leota
sense of humor.
Yeah.
But Ilema Leota was funny because he'd be the old man dressed as an old man with cut off sleeves sitting in the point after.
Oh, I never knew
Oh,
he was
wow.
over there.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
Oh,
During all the that's where I first met him. I was 17 years old, and you know, back at that time, the drinking age was 18, and so I passed for 18. So they let me in. Francis was running the front with Fred Peluso. Fred
okay.
Peluso was a doorman there.
Yeah.
And so they got to liking me. I got into a fight over there and I beat up a couple guys or something. And they got to liking me a lot. So they would buy me my first drink. I don't know if you ever but Point After was famous for that. When they walk in, they give you a tab. Like they gave me a tab. I could buy people drinks.
Oh,
Yeah,
Wow,
I'm 17 years
nice.
old. I'm
no,
17
that
years
never
old.
happened to me.
Yeah,
I'm
never
17
happened to
years
me
old and I'm
either.
buying all these people drinks. But anyway, so there's another thing. I bought Elema a drink and he laughed. So I went over there and I said hello and I introduced myself so I told him who I was and he was just, I love your family. And
Yeah,
and he spoke about grandpa.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, he didn't speak about the uncles, you know, Uncle Tina
yeah,
and all of these guys, not the
yeah,
bad influence, but the good influence, which is grandpa.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, sure, for sure. Hey, listen, let's
Dude,
get back to the transportation of dinero, and then we're also going to talk about Uncle Vili. Uncle Vili took Elvis around when he was doing Blue Hawaii. So Elvis
yeah,
really
yeah,
liked
yeah, yeah,
Uncle Vili,
yeah.
you know?
Of course, of course.
Yeah, because Uncle Vili was real smart with his money. He got the money and then he went and bought a black limousine, a Cadillac limousine, so he could have that
Yeah,
business. That's how smart he
Yeah.
was, right? And
that
so
was
Oh,
he
he
really
was a
did.
fixture. Yeah.
Yeah, he really was a fixture in all of that
Yeah,
in
I
the
remember seeing him at
transportation.
the airport. I remember
Yeah,
seeing him at the
exactly.
airport.
Yeah,
Always.
standing
Yeah,
next to the car. Oh yeah,
yeah,
for sure. So
yeah.
anyway,
Always.
so let's talk about some of the movies you've done, Norm. What have you done, buddy? I want to hear all of it.
Gosh, oh man. Well, you know, I did like 15 Magnum PIs. That's how I started off, and then I did a few Jake and the Fat Man. And what's nice about some of the stuff I've done is like I did the last show that Frank Sinatra was ever filmed, and that was a
Oh,
Magnum PI. I happened to be on that
Really?
episode.
wow.
Yeah, I happened to be on that episode. And this is a funny story, man. So you know, as a stuntman, you don't get to rub elbows or with guys.
Norman, your audio's off. Your audio. There you go.
There we go. So
Start
yeah,
over
so
again. Start over.
okay. Where was I? What were we
You
talking?
don't, you're not rubbing elbows with
Oh yeah,
the,
Yeah.
yeah. And God dang, guys, I just went blank. I'm sorry.
No, you were
You
just
know
talking
what it
about
was?
Frank.
You know what it
Frank
was?
Sinatra,
What that
Sinatra.
what it was is that interruption was my nephew Chad, and he's helping us with some of this RSO. My nephew Woody, his cancer has gone to stage 4
Right.
again.
Oh no.
Yeah, yeah. And so
So
my
sorry.
nephew makes this concoction with that is made with THC
Okay.
and 151 rum, and you rub it on your skin or you drink it, and it kills cancer. It's what got Woody away from stage 4 before to no cancer. That's what did
Okay.
it.
Wow.
And so Woody's cancer came back because he had quit taking the stuff. And then he just started doing what the doctors do. If you only do what the doctors tell you, you're gonna die. You've
Yeah.
got to
Yeah.
Yeah.
take these things into your own hands and you've got to
Yeah.
figure it out because they're not going to do it for you. It's
Right.
they're experimenting with you. At this age, I'm never going to do chemo. At this age, I
Yeah.
find out I got it. No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to spend 5 years of struggling and
No.
Yeah.
Woody who is used to be 6'8" is and used to be 260 pounds, is
Yeah.
now down to 165 pounds.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That
Amazing.
cancer is amazing. So anyway, on that phone call right now, while I was having that interruption when we were talking, I see it was from my nephew. They've got the stuff. So I was reading that. And so when I came back to you guys, I lost my train of thought on where I was.
No.
That's what
Yeah, you
happened. I don't want you guys to think I had Alzheimer's. Don't do
No,
that.
no, don't worry.
Don't
No,
commit me
dementia.
yet.
Dementia is what he
Yeah.
No.
did.
Yeah, no. Yeah. So anyway, so you
No,
were
Yeah,
working
being on the set with
Sinatra.
Sinatra.
with Sinatra. And so that just so happened. What's a funny story about Frank Sinatra is that Magnum PI at that time, it was at the end of Magnum's thing. I think it was like Magnum's last show, possibly. But
Okay.
they were bringing in celebrities on the last season. They were bringing all kinds of celebrities. And so they said, well, what if we bring in Frank Sinatra? And they said, oh, give him a call. So Tom Selleck gives him a call. And Frank Sinatra says, you know, Tom, I love your show so much. I'll tell you what, you guys take care of my expenses, and all you guys have to do is pay me scale. And scale is what I made.
Whoa.
Yeah, scale is what I made. So they brought him down. So they paid his expenses. His expenses back in 1980, this is 1988 or something like that.
That's
His
right.
expenses that week was $250,000.
Wow.
He only got
Wow.
paid $1,300 for the episode.
Oh
But
Wow.
my
his
God.
everything else cost $250,000.
Yeah. Oh, crazy.
That's when you're Frank Sinatra, you know.
That's
But,
right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Then what else happened?
But-
What else happened?
But I
So
was
you get-
also,
Yeah.
I was also on Jake and the Fat Man. I was fortunate enough to do a real cool scene with Ernest Borgnine.
Oh yeah.
whoa.
McHale's Navy.
Wow.
You know, the young people, but young people don't know who Ernest
know.
Borgnine was.
Oh, I
but he
know.
was
It
an
doesn't
Oscar.
matter.
Oscar.
Marty.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Marty.
Marty.
Yeah, Marty.
That's right.
Yeah.
Great
right.
movie.
Amazing.
Yeah, and we had such a wonderful day together.
Nice.
You know, he was just so warm, and we played two drunks, which was easy to play.
Yeah.
You know,
Not a
at
stretch.
that age.
Especially for him.
Right.
Especially for him.
And then right after I did that show, that's when the SAG and United Airlines in Hawaii went on strike. SAG, so no more filming. And then United Airlines went on strike, so 50% of our business stopped coming to Hawaii.
Wow.
The rubbishmen went on strike, so
Yeah.
rubbish was all through Waikiki, everywhere. It was a mess, and I was desperate because entertainment is the first thing that goes. Nobody
Yeah.
can hire you, you know.
Yeah.
And so I thought about, at that time, my stunt work was paying my residuals, and they were paying my health insurance. So I said, okay, I'm going to go up there to Hollywood and see what I can do.
Yeah.
And so I did quite a few movies. You know, when you ask me what movies I've been in, I have a hard time thinking about it. Honestly, I do.
I
mean,
know.
there's so
I can
many.
answer it probably better than Norman because I've seen but Face Off.
Oh,
Yeah,
whoa.
Face Off.
Oh, Matt, right there with
Yeah.
Nicolas Cage. I was like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to be on
Face
the
Off.
screen with
Hot
him.
Shots Part 2.
Even the Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
What was that big jungle one? You were in every scene. Like you were in
I was in a
every
lot of
Predator?
scenes.
Were you on
Collateral
Predator?
damage. Collateral damage.
Oh, okay.
Collateral
Okay.
damage. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My favorite
You
movie
gotta
of
go
all time is Predator. So I thought, man,
Well,
if you were a Predator.
I'm not in that, so that can't be your favorite.
Yeah.
No, sorry. I'm so sorry. I stand corrected.
Used
Okay,
to be
so
your favorite.
De Niro is one of my all-time favorites, like Brando and De Niro, right? So, because you know, The Godfather, that's my Bible.
Oh yeah.
But like I just can't get enough of De Niro now that you know.
Hey,
so tell me
a
how
funny
you first
story.
met him.
Okay, well, this is interesting because I was asked by Bill Paluti.
Okay, I know
to-
Bill.
Yeah,
That's
I
his
wasn't in the union at that time as far as being a Teamster, but Bill
And
Paluti
Bill was
got up.
another someone that was bodyguarding for.
Well, he the $6 million man.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Lee
Lee
Majors.
Majors.
Yeah.
Lee Majors.
Lee made it, right.
Yeah.
So anyway, Bill got this movie as a transportation coordinator, and he asked me if I could be Joe Pesci's driver.
Wow.
And I said, yeah, sure. So I started driving Joe Pesci. And what's amazing is that at this time I had sang in New York. I sang with Richie Havens. You know, I
Wow.
mean, I was in New York singing
Oh,
with him.
wow.
Yeah, Richie Havens came to Hawaii, got me, and took me to New York, and so I was there. I'd done all of this stuff, you know, and
Uh-huh.
when I got to meeting with Joe Pesci, we started talking. Well, my sax player that I had up in New York, well, him and Joe Pesci started their very first band together.
Oh,
So
wow.
Oh,
my sax player, who I'm dear friends with, was good friends with Joe Pesci. So me and Joe became good friends, and I used to go up to his place, and we would jam. And this guy could play, man. Joe Pesci was a serious jazz guitarist. I mean, he
Did
was
not
serious.
know.
Yeah, yeah. And
Did
he
not
played all
know.
the yeah, he played all the big clubs. I mean, yeah, he's a phenomenal entertainer. But he was so very sad at this time. And you could
Why?
just tell. He was just lonely. You can be a movie star and
Oh,
all the
yeah.
girls can act like they want you, but when the time comes to be with somebody, that's not the person, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he was married to some girl like this that was way beyond what he would normally be able to get. This
Yeah.
beautiful lady, of course, and she treats him like shit, takes all his money and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
So anyway, me and Joe became good friends, and so he says to me, "Hey, let's go out to dinner tonight." So he takes me out to dinner to this place called the Tea Club in L.A. And we walk in there, and this place is dark, man. It reminds me of Goodfellas, you know. So we walk in, and there's De Niro sitting down. I wasn't expecting to see him. I was shocked. I'm like, oh my God, here's De
Oh, my.
Niro. Sitting next to De Niro is I think of this other actor's name. I forget his name. White guy, good guy. But so Joe Pesci says, "Hey, Norman, sit down." I said, "No, no, that's okay. You guys go ahead and sit down. I'll go find something else to do." And he says, "No, Norman, sit down." So he sits me down between him and Robert De Niro. Well, Robert De Niro, I could tell, didn't like that at all, man. He didn't like that at all.
Ooh.
For at least 2 hours, I sat there and put up with Robert De Niro's kind of fucking not treating me good. And I'm
Yeah.
yeah,
getting pissed. And I'm getting pissed because this
Right.
guy
yeah.
has no right to do that. So
Right.
anyway, we're leaving at this time, and we're waiting for our car up front from the valet. And this black girl goes up and he says, "Would you take a picture?" And Robert De Niro says, "Okay." He takes a picture. The next thing you know, this other guy's taking more than one picture. He's a paparazzi, is what he's
Yeah.
doing.
Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Right.
So
yeah,
next thing you know, Robert De Niro goes up to the guy and it's just like in a movie, man. Because Joe
yeah.
Pesci is there and he says, "Hey, give me the camera." And the guy says, "No, I can't. This is my camera." He said, "No, no, no, no. Give me the camera." I said, "Give me the camera." And he's pointing at the camera. "Give me the camera," just like he does in the movie. "Give me the camera." And then Joe Pesci's like, "Hey, Bobby, stop it, Bobby. You know, let the guy go." And then De Niro would point at Joe and say, Joe, give me the camera. Give me the camera. I want the film. Give me the camera. Give me the camera." The guy wouldn't give me the camera. So I grabbed the camera. I pushed the guy away. I opened that camera up. I gave him the film. I said, "Now, let's get the fuck out of here." The next day, I get called saying, "Robert De Niro wants to hire you."
Oh
So I
my
was this movie.
God.
My first movie I did with Robert De Niro was the movie The Fan.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
yeah, yeah,
No, no,
yeah.
no, not The Fan, not The Fan. It was Heat, called
Uh-huh.
Heat
Oh my
with Al
God.
Pacino.
Yeah,
With
yeah,
Al
yeah.
Pacino.
Wow.
Yeah, they did
Wow.
their
That's a good
very
one.
first scene ever. They did their first scene. I was there for that. The very first
Is
scene that
that Val
Robert De Niro and Al
Kilmer?
Pacino
That one, yeah.
ever
Uh-huh.
did together at that
Yeah,
Wow.
time.
that they were on the
Yeah.
screen at the same
Yeah,
time.
together at the same time. Although they've done the same movies, they were never on
Right.
screen
Right.
at the same time.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I
I
know.
was there at that time. So,
Wow.
but Bobby
Oh,
was such a good guy. And one day he asked me, "Norm, could you do me a favor? I forgot my jacket up at the house. Would you mind going and get it?" So I went up to his house. I got his jacket and I came back and I said, "Bobby, this is the nicest suede jacket I've ever seen." He says, "You want one?" I said, "No, I'm not saying that. So you give me one." He says, "Well, you want one?" No, seriously. So he tells me this story. there's a designer by the name of Agnes B. And apparently she took, without asking, she took his name and put the Robert De Niro line and got into all of these high-end stores, the Robert De Niro line. And
Okay.
so he went up to the office and he started talking to her. Well, next thing you know, they became partners. So she makes these jackets and that he would have her make me one. I said, okay, I'll do that. So sure enough, they made me one. I said, hey, Bob,
Wow.
this is the nicest jacket I ever seen. He says, what, that's yours. I said, hey, by the way, did I ever tell you how nice your Mercedes was?
I know. I always tell people, the Samoan compliment, right? Oh, nice jacket. Can I have it?
Yeah.
Nice earrings. Can I have
Did
it?
I tell you about your
Oh,
Mercedes?
God,
How much
that's
I like your Mercedes?
hilarious.
Yeah.
You're
He
so
laughed
funny.
so hard. Me and Robert De Niro became close, man. We had some serious, where I had to pull the car over. We're crying, laughing so hard.
Wow.
Oh, my
Yeah.
God. How many
Yeah.
people can say that?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
know.
He was really good people, But
Uh-huh.
there's something about being with these stars, you're not going to grow. If I stay
Yeah.
with him,
Yeah.
am I going to grow? No, I'm always going to be that
Yeah.
driver. Well,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah,
not
yeah,
me.
yeah.
That's not who I am.
Yeah. Yeah.
Either I
What
can
about
grow with
Mr.
you,
and Mrs. Smith? You was in that, right?
right? Yeah.
Did
Oh
you
my
cross
God, what
that?
did you do there? What did you do there?
But
That's just
Angelina,
a small part, as a matter of fact. They had me. What was interesting, I was just playing one of the doormen or bodyguards in
yeah,
the
yeah,
movie.
yeah.
I didn't have much of a thing, but what they had me do is they had me audition by allowing Angelina Jolie. She was supposed to walk through me, and I'm supposed to frisk her. So she says to me, she says, "Do it how you would normally do it." I says, "Okay." So she came around.
Okay.
I flipped her around and I started grabbing her titties. And I just went on down the legs and everything. And they loved it, but they
And
said,
she was in
yeah,
yeah.
you look too serious. They told me I look too serious. So they didn't give
Because you
that
were.
part to me. They gave it to the other guy. But what's interesting,
Ah,
the guy that they gave it to, this guy that the stuntman who and I became, and it's been a long time since I've seen him, so I forget his name, but he spoke Aramaic.
Oh, whoa, really?
Yeah, yeah. And I didn't
Mm.
know what that was. And he says, that's Jesus's language.
Oh, yeah, it sure
yeah.
I
is.
says, I didn't know. I didn't know. He
Oh, it
says, yeah,
sure is.
not many. He says, not many of us speak the language anymore.
Yeah.
But he was just the sweetest guy, but he spoke Jesus. And he says that the Bible, the way it was interpreted, is that they've got a Aramaic Bible where the words that are used or Jesus's words are interpreted correctly or
Oh,
something. It's I never did look into it, but
Yeah.
there's an Aramaic
oh,
Bible.
wow. Yeah,
Yeah,
because Jesus also spoke Greek, and a lot of the apostles wrote it in Greek. Like
yeah,
Matthew, Mark, and all of them. So
yeah.
it
There's
was
been a lot
translated
of
from Greek.
a
Yeah,
lot of translations of the Bible, and then it went into the King James, and then
Yeah.
yeah,
yeah, and then bless his heart, the pastor at New Hope here,
yeah.
Wayne Caldera, he's got his Bible
Yeah.
Wow.
that how he interprets what the Bible means,
Yeah,
So that to me is taking up too much liberty.
yeah. I agree with you. I totally agree
Yeah,
with you. But
yeah,
that's interesting. That's
yeah, it
really
is, huh?
interesting. Very.
Yeah.
Wow. Amazing. Okay, then, guys. Let's see. Any last words?
No, but how much I love talking to you too.
I
Honestly,
know.
I,
My God,
I
I've
mean
had
that.
such a
I didn't
fun
want
time.
to
Yeah.
steal Norman's thunder, but I did have a story. One of my favorite stories with Uncle Bilal and them is it was one time when Auntie Tino, Auntie Lela, my mom, all the ladies were over at the house and they were telling this story. Oh, and Ingosia. So they were all together and they were telling the story like, Auntie Lelo had just moved up the height, up St. Louis Heights. And this when Uncle Bilal was, someone Superman, big time, yeah, big name. And all the sisters and, cousin, you was getting ready to go watch, Bilal at the Civic.
Right.
Civic.
So they all got in the auntie's old dinosaur car. No start, the car wouldn't turn over. The car wouldn't turn on. They didn't even blink. They didn't miss a beat. They pushed the car out of the driveway off Bertram Street.
Yeah.
They went coast the car all the way down King Street to the Civic. They never stopped at no intersections, no nothing. They went coast from St. Louis Heights all the way to the Civic.
Yeah, that's tough. My dad, and I'm so mad at him sometimes for not allowing my mom to learn how to drive.
Oh, that's right. She never drove.
She never drove.
I never put that together.
And what it was is that she got into some accidents that when he was
She
first
got in an
teaching her
accident with my mom.
Yeah.
That was one. Are you talking about another one?
No. Well, when she was learning to drive,
Right.
she was,
Okay.
yeah, and he was frustrated. I mean, she never, just it wasn't until late in her life that she rode a car for the first time. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
It's not like they had cars in all their lives.
Yeah.
No, Auntie and Mom got in
it's
that
funny.
bad accident. They were driving back from Laie. Mom was taking her home.
Uh-huh.
And what they would do is when Mom would go to Laie, we couldn't leave until after the PCC show, so Mom could follow the buses.
Right.
Feel safer following all
That's
the buses.
funny.
So it was just Auntie Lele and Mom, and it was storming. We were still at the Pueo house because I remember when Mom had her stitches. So
really?
the first Kahala house. So
Yeah. I
but I
remember that.
remember anytime your mom was in the room and my dad would come in, she would thank him because her teeth,
Yeah.
insurance,
Yeah.
insurance, she was just showing off her teeth all the time.
She
I
was
just never put that together. Yeah.
she was special with those teeth. Let me tell you, man. Every grandchild, she would bring them out. She would bring them out. And the kids. My mom was funny, man. She was hysterical, and for some reason, my brother Gary, although he was close with Mom, he didn't have that same as the baby. I was the baby.
Right.
So me and Mom hung out.
Yeah.
I was proud. I loved having Mom around because she was funny. She was
Yeah.
a funny lady, man.
And played and music too, Oh yeah.
Not afraid to dance. She was an entertainer. She could play guitar. She had an old pump organ at home, foot pump, where she had to pump it with her feet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, she was a
No,
talented
she was
lady.
total package, man.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
She was something else.
No, the rest of the
Well,
sisters definitely did not have Auntie's sense of humor.
No, it's just I noticed that, man. They all had a great sense of humor, and what was amazing is how much they laughed when they were with each other.
Oh
I don't know if you've ever saw
gosh.
the painting. I don't know who it's by. Let me see. I got the painting here, but there it is behind me. You see that? That's the auntie.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's what I think of when I think of Mom, Auntie Leo,
Yeah.
Auntie Tino.
Yeah.
Auntie Vandy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's called
Auntie Tassie.
and that painting is called the Auntie's Talking Story After the Show.
Oh, man.
So perfect.
Oh.
Yeah.
So
sweet.
Now,
perfect.
I know, and we got to talk about this sometime. But remember when they used to sell the Lays up at the Poly Lookout?
Oh man, yeah. But I mean, I didn't know anybody of the family that was there. I knew my Auntie Matai, and she was in front of the Royal.
Oh
Auntie
yeah.
Matai's stand was in front of the Royal.
Well, we had plenty. We had plenty family up there. Samoans.
Did not know.
Pully? At the Pully what? The Pully Lookout?
Yeah, the Pully Lookout.
At the Lookout. At the old Pully Lookout.
I never knew that. I never knew
get
that.
maybe 2 or 3 Samoan ladies all making leis, the
Uh-huh.
bead leis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Oh, this,
wow. Yeah. No, my Auntie Matai had beautiful stuff, and she was at the Royal where the money was.
oh yeah, she's
Yeah.
smart. Yeah,
Oh, she
Auntie,
was so
yeah, very
smart.
smart.
Oh, classy. She would have a hat
And
on like
remember
Oh,
yours.
yes.
She had a hat
the
like
lay
yours,
lady?
Vicki, to be out there. Oh my God. She
Remember
was beautiful.
the lady at the on the corner of Lures and Kalakau? She
I
was the
do.
lay lady.
Because we
Yeah.
always took a ride through Waikiki on the way home. When I was small, I
Yeah.
remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
We had
long
know.
time.
man, I tell you, Waikiki was charming then. As a kid, I couldn't wait to get into Waikiki. I loved Waikiki.
Yeah.
It was exciting. It had a lot of cool things. Duke Kahanamoku, you'd see him every now and then,
Oh yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
yeah. And he
I
was
actually
great
saw.
with and
Yeah,
he
go
was
ahead.
great with all the kids, he was great
Yeah,
with the young people.
yeah. He was really
Yeah.
sweet.
Yeah.
I caught him in Maui. He was actually at the brand new Sheraton over there, and I caught him in there, and he was so sweet. But by that time he was really old, but still sweet. Still
I
so Hawaii.
when I got married with Debbie in 1979, my first job was singing at the Maui Sheraton at the
Yeah.
Black
Yeah.
Rock room up on top.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was there for a full year with Debbie on my honeymoon.
Oh
We lived
wow.
we lived we lived at the Sheraton. They had those cabins at that
Right,
time, remember?
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly on
Yeah.
the side. Yeah. Oh,
Right.
nice. Wow, what a nice life.
Yeah, it was a nice
Yeah.
Real
honeymoon.
nice
One
life.
year in Maui,
Oh
and we were only
man.
and I only did one show a night, except on weekends we do two shows a night. And the Sheraton fed us, so I was making good money. My
Oh,
wife was with
wow.
me. We were on a honeymoon, and Lahaina was charming at that time, man.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
so charming, and we had
Oh
a lot
yeah.
of cousins that. Well, we had one cousin, Tony Harrington, that was on the Maui Divers.
Right.
Okay.
All
Yeah.
of them went. All of them went crazy. All of the divers went crazy
What do you
Yeah.
because of
mean?
because they went the depths that they dove, and they
Oh,
would take things like
The
they would take
bends.
acid. They would take
Yeah.
acid
oh,
and go down
Yeah.
that deep. They would go down to 150 feet and stay longer than they're supposed to. And so
Yeah.
every one of them became a real head case. You
oh,
know,
Yes.
sad.
yeah, it was bad. It
Oh
was
my
bad.
gosh, how
And Tony,
sad.
Tony, Tony didn't have it easy. He didn't
Mm,
No.
escape from that.
mm.
And then
No.
coming from that, a challenging family as it is, the Harringtons were a challenging family, man. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah. I mean, I only saw David
Challenging isn't
handsome as
the word
hell.
I would use.
What were
you
you
know what's
saying?
funny? You know what's funny? You were safer as a cousin than you ever were as one of the siblings.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
interesting. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
it's
True.
true. I mean, my
yeah.
auntie Nasia was so sweet to us kids. I mean, my auntie was the best auntie. Don't talk bad about any of us kids, but boy, her poor kids, ay, ay, ay.
Yeah. That's what happened with the Harringtons. You know, the poor
Yeah.
guys.
Oh, that's too
You know,
bad.
you know what's another thing too is that, and it surprised me because I was the youngest in my family, but I was chosen, one of the chosen ones to be a pallbearer at Grandpa's
Yeah,
funeral.
I remember. You're right. That's right.
Yeah, and I asked Walter about that, and he says, because you look the most Samoan in your family.
Yeah.
He
He
said,
would say
you
that.
look like you look more Stua than your brothers.
He would say that. Man, I miss him. For my
Yeah.
birthday a few years ago, one of my presents from my son was a picture of me and Walter. Like I really
Uh-huh.
miss him,
He
man.
was he was good until he got that accident. That accident really was
That changed things.
changing. That
Yeah.
changed things a lot.
Too
So,
bad.
Yeah.
Really sad.
Oh boy.
well, hey guys, I love you very, very
I
much.
love you too. Thank you
And I
so
can't.
much for everything. And what I'd like to say is there'll be other episodes in the future. We'd love to have you back.
Hey, let's
So
talk about anything. I know a lot about nothing. a lot of nothing stuff. I've
But
got
that's
that
why Namele
information.
changed it to polypod. We're just the polypod now, so we can talk
Okay.
about anything. We're not
Well,
limited.
you know, let me ask you something. Do you know what Polynesian means? The word? It means
Multiple.
many Nesians.
Oh,
Yeah.
I never did like that name because that
Yeah.
just, it never described us. It was just a way of describing what they couldn't describe. They couldn't get the fact that, you know, that we were all different tribes, you know? So they called us
Yeah.
many Nesians.
Yeah, we
well,
should
you know what I
be.
Yeah.
think though, you guys? I think the water threw everybody off. Like if we were on
Yeah.
a solid piece of land, that'd be
Right.
easy for them to get that concept. But
Oh
the
yeah,
You're
we would
right.
have the
of
biggest,
an
You're
entire
right.
they had the
nation,
biggest country in the, yeah. Right.
exactly, a nation that just covered this massive amount of earth and a lot
Yeah,
of it
well, the
water.
Pacific Ocean, the whole
Yeah,
Pacific Ocean.
Well,
but
you know,
beyond
I
that,
know I made that point at the opening ceremonies at Kualoa when all the va'a was coming in. Like he never separated because it's Polynesia, Melanesia, and Micronesia. He doesn't
right.
separate any of them. He says we are the caretakers of the Pacific. Period. That's
Yeah.
it. That's what
Yeah.
we are.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
So
Proud
that
of
was
it.
really.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
super. So again, thank you so
Okay.
much, Norman, for your time.
Love you.
Thank you,
Love
thank
you
you, thank
all
you.
so
Love
very,
you
very
too.
much. Okay.
Love to Woody too, please.
Oh yeah,
Okay.
please.
We'll be thinking
Yeah.
about him a lot, okay?
Yeah, please do.
Give him
Please
my
do.
love.
I
We'll
will.
pray.
All right.
Love you.
All
Love
right.
to Debbie.
Yeah.
Talk
Love
soon.
you all.
Until then.
Bye.
Bye,
Aloha.
Cindy. Bye-bye. Aloha.